Hi, good evening. We're with the International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch, and we are coming to you with our Instagram Live Dyslexia You Are Not Alone. We're going to be joined here by Andrew here shortly, who has an amazing story about being dyslexic, as well as becoming an executive director of a nonprofit. So he's going to be joining us, and if you have questions tonight, please drop us a line. Us a line tonight, or you can also email us the branch at International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch. Hey,
How's it going, brother?
good. How you doing?
Not too bad. I can hear you, but I think my phone is thinking about. Oh, there
Oh,
we
there
go.
we go. Yeah, I got you now.
How are you?
I'm good. How's it going?
It's going well, man. I'm gonna try and close this line behind me.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I was trying to figure out the lighting today. It's definitely
Right.
different.
All right. Thank you for having me on here.
No, thanks for taking the time. Sounds like you're a busy person these days.
I am. Now my lighting looks all weird. Hopefully everyone can see me okay.
So,
I am busy, man. I have a 15-year-old who is a freshman this year, navigating the digital learning world. And then I also have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old who
oh,
are pretty both very high energy. Were foster parents for a little while, and then became we adopted them. So it's been a amazing, crazy journey, and there was a long gap between us having babies. So that was a complete and total awesome learning experience. But just a little tired, but I'm here and I'm ready to do this.
I was gonna ask. So when was the adoption? Like, so how long have you been?
So our 5-year-old, we got her when she was 18 months,
Okay.
and we had her for I think maybe a year or two, and then we got a phone call just saying like, hey, her little brother was born, and we told him like, you guys were gonna take him, and he's coming to live with you guys, and we talked it out really quick and became overnight parents of a newborn premature baby boy, um, who was actually born in Corvallis. And then we drove back and forth for 10 days just to make sure that we were getting to know him and tummy time and all that stuff that needed to be done while he was getting a little bigger, and then passing his car seat test to get out of the hospital.
Wow. That's
It was
amazing. Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. It's awesome what you and your family are doing. That's impressive. Are they all school at home schooling right now, or like doing the virtual school, or are they actually in class, or did I lose you there?
Oh, can you still
Hey,
hear me?
yeah, I
Oh,
got you.
yeah, everyone's distance learning
Yeah, okay.
for the last year and a half, actually, I guess, or whatever we're in this pandemic time. Um, and oh, there we go. There's some
Yeah,
color.
yeah, that's
See me. There we go. Yeah, so mostly my 15-year-old, and she's been crushing it, which is awesome. I feel very fortunate. She's super independent and doing a great job. And my littles are doing their thing, and I'm the kind of the primary parent. My wife works the full-time gig, so my job is being with the kids and also running the nonprofit.
so cool. Well, I want to get into your journey here. So, uh, you grew up in Portland?
I
Is
did,
that,
yeah, yeah.
and do you diagnose with dyslexia? And can you take us through that through that journey and what that was like?
Yeah, for sure. Grew up in Southeast Portland, went to Abernathy, um, and to tell you the truth, I can't even remember the exact time I was diagnosed with dyslexia, but I remember pretty much through my whole grade school experience being pulled out of classes, like your core classes that you're with, the same teacher all year. Like I'd get pulled out of those classes weekly, maybe a couple times a week. Um, to go do reading things and different activities. Um, I don't remember having like, being told, sorry, to close the door over here,
No, you're good.
about dyslexia necessarily at first. But then I think I started to do a program here. It was out in West Lynn at Merrillhurst called Help. And I remember going there and, you know, earlier grade school, and maybe it was like fourth grade or something, and getting tested for a bunch of different stuff. And I looked at like different pictures of things and words and all kinds of different stuff and got tested. And then once they figured out, I guess, that I had dyslexia, I came in and did these different kind of activities that, like, one was I had something that looked like kind of a broomstick, and then the broomstick had different colors. So like there'd be two spots in the middle where you could put your hands that were yellow, and then outside of the yellow there was green, and then red and like blue or something like that on the stick. So each end there was two colors for each on the stick, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? The
It's
tip,
yeah.
and then it went in. And then from my ceiling there was one of those pink rubber balls, and it would hang from a string, like a rope. And then on the wall, I had a chart of the alphabet. And then there was different charts. So like the first there was that you just had to do the alphabet, and every time you said a letter, you would tap the stick on the ball, and that's how you started. It was just you'd go through the alphabet, tapping the ball, and then it got to where you had to do the alphabet forward and backward while tapping the ball. So you had to say it, tap it, and move on, right? So then once you mastered forward and backward, tapping the ball at the same time, then you had to tap the ball on the color of, so you would say the letter and you'd have to tap the ball on the color at the same time. So it went from just tapping the ball to now like you'd say A, and then under the A there'd be an R for red. So then you'd have to say A and tap the red one, and then B and tap the yellow one. So you're having to navigate, memorize where the colors are on the stick. Then you have to hit those colors and navigate that while you're saying the alphabet forward and backwards. And I mean, it was like fast. It was as fast as the ball could swing back. So that's how much time, like the harder you hit it, the more time you had, because it's going to go out, but it's going to come back quicker. And then the less you hit it, it's going to be quick, like A, B, C, D, E. So it was pretty like intense. And that, I did that for a while. And then I also had to read a book for like 3 minutes or something, 2 or 3 minutes, in every position of the clock. So every number of the clock. So it would start out upright, reading it normal, and then 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
Rotating it.
Yeah, until I was reading upside down, and then reading at 10 o'clock was really weird, and like having to read books like that. And so again, not sure what the point was. It was never really explained to me why we were doing these things. We were just doing them. And I think there was other stuff, but that was like the stuff that really stood out to me that we did.
Was that frustrating for you, or were you kind of like just going with it?
I think the reading stuff was frustrating for me, but the ABC stuff was not frustrating for me. Like I could do that really easily. That wasn't hard for me. I played music, so I'm a musician. That's actually how I met your brother.
Okay.
And like I played by ear. I still to this day can't really read music. A lot of people, we'd sit and you'd audition for a chair or whatever, first chair, second chair, third chair, and we'd get the music, and I would have my parents buy the CD so that I could learn how to play it by ear. And so I think, there was some, like, I'm good with my hands, I'm good with my ears, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But
totally.
with books, the reading stuff was not my jam. I didn't like reading because I got made fun of a lot for messing up words as a young kid in school, and kids are brutal. And
Totally.
so I think instead of figuring out how to correct that, it was more like just self-preserve and not, not put myself out there like that.
Yeah,
That
not
makes
get called out, basically trying to shield it versus actually,
yeah.
yeah, try. Well, and it seemed like we grew up in similar times in the sense like my
Hmm.
my family's listening and they reminded me I have one of those sticks too, and it was just there wasn't a lot of information about being dyslexic or what that actually meant or kind of the challenges that go with it. I was going to ask, was there anything that ever like, I mean, I remember the popcorn reading, like where you'd get called on to read out loud, and that would always just
Hmm.
stress me out. Is there
Oh yeah.
anything that stood out to you as an experience in the classroom that was really challenging?
Yeah, I think basically any time I was asked to read was like not a fun experience for me. I definitely think that, something you and I talked about earlier is just kind of the long-term effects of kind of knowing that something's not quite right. You know what I mean? People
Right.
are talking about you and they're telling you like you're clearly going to a different classroom. You're not in the same class with all the other kids and doing that. So, um, and on top of that, I think I had ADD. I have ADD as well. Um,
Okay. So
but I don't have the hyperactive part of it. So it's not, that wasn't really a challenge for me. And so I think having that and dyslexia and just not a whole lot of information about all of that stuff. And I think my parents tried really hard. They weren't like trying to hide it from me or anything, or, they fully accepted it. And I think my parents worked really hard to try and give me any kind of support that I needed, from tutoring to, I mean, I was that kid that was going to like music lessons and math tutors and all kinds of stuff just to, you know, they always wanted me to be up to par, or at the same level as everybody else.
for sure.
But I think it's, it still, as an adult, I don't care to read. Like, I audiobook a lot of stuff. I think it through college, I think it had a big effect on my willingness to put myself out there when it came to what I could achieve. I've achieved founding and starting a nonprofit, almost for running it for almost 10 years now, and working with a lot of kids and helping a lot of kids and doing a lot of stuff. And so I think that school was never going to be the route for me to achieve that. But, since I was a little kid, I wanted to have my own community center, and so I think I'm low key achieving that on a different level, still helping kids and doing all that stuff. So I think it's affected me in ways, but I found other ways to overcome, my insecurities about reading and different things.
For sure. I want to get into your nonprofit, but before that, I want to stay on your story here as you're going through school. And we kind of talked about how it sounds like from music you're able to like capture like the that kinetic energy or being able to
Mm-hmm.
play and being able to like listen and pull things. And I was wondering if you could tell about your EMT experiences. You were kind of
Yeah,
looking at career paths because I think that's a really powerful story with what that was like for you because
yeah.
you were showing so much success with the physical part of it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think so I, like you were saying, I was kind of looking for what I wanted to do, and like law enforcement and different stuff always intrigued me, and I thought that was, interesting work. But being a black man in Portland, I was like, I don't know if I want to dive into all that stuff. So um, I thought EMT would be a good thing, like helping people and being out there doing that. And so I took the EMT course through PCC and was killing it, doing you know, all kinds of procedures and different things with the man, the dummies and all that kind of stuff, and CPR and all these different things, and was just like nailing it on the first try. You know what I mean? Like, the instructor would show us, and I would just nail it. And then it came to where we had to take our midterm or something like that, and you had to get a 75 to stay in the class. And I got like 100% on all the hands-on stuff. And then right at the end of the test, I never tested very well. There was never a way of showing what I truly knew. And I got a 74 and got booted from the class. And um, it was heartbreaking, man. It was crushing. Like feeling like killing it at all the other stuff, and then getting let go was just it was just a jab because I knew it was something that I could do. You know what I mean? That and not only do but be really good at. And so I think that hurt, but um, you know, it was on to the next one.
For sure. But I think there's something to this where, and we have a student panel here in Oregon, and we talk to a lot of students, but it's they get into that environment where they study really hard, or they've put all this time and energy, like yourself, like you were doing for the EMT,
Hmm.
and they get into a situation where they're not really given the room or space to show what they know or show what they're
Hmm.
capable of. And I think that's so often for our community as dyslexics, and the challenges that face, like when you put in all the work and we talk, and then you get this label of being lazy because you can't answer questions on a paper test, and really it's almost like lazy evaluation on the other side of the table
Hmm.
because they're missing on really great people. I mean,
Hmm.
like
I would
yourself. But
I would agree 100%. I think being dyslexic, man, it made my social game strong. Like
yeah,
it made me have to be able to go out and navigate systems and situations and different things, not by the book like, a lot of people were doing, but I had to use my mouthpiece and my charm and my wit and to get places where a lot of people were using their degrees. You know what I mean? And so I think it's you know, hard work is hard work, and I think it's gonna. I think a good analogy we talked about, in turn was like the weightlifting
yes,
competition, and you either have the dude who's out there bench pressing hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and then you know you're gonna give him the weightlifting championship, of course, but really instead you go ahead and give it to the person that studied about being a weightlifter. And
right.
so I think, I want the person to be an EMT that's going to roll up and know how to do situations, not know that they read really good, material about the situations and can come in and hopefully or handle pressure well or even know how to do the procedure.
Right. Absolutely. No, I mean, it's if you can get to the scene, but you can't lift the body or you can't do
Right.
the physical labor, then the information in your head isn't really going to be that valuable, what you knew on a multiple choice test.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and I think you alluded to it earlier, but like being black in Portland, Oregon, dealing with those challenges, knowing that community, and it's like
Hmm.
we're always looking for more people, but then we have a system that essentially is not
Hmm.
bringing people to the table, and
Hmm.
especially hurting our people of color, our black, indigenous people
Hmm.
that are living in Portland. Like
Oh,
we have more work to do on that level in order to accomplish that. And you're doing some of that work with social justice initiatives and your nonprofit. And I was wondering if you could kind of share some of that stuff.
yeah, for sure. So in excuse me, in 2012, I founded a nonprofit called Bustin Barriers, and we do work with kids with disabilities, and it's pretty much full spectrum. So, a lot of the camps out there are specific to, autism or different things, and I think that's amazing and super wonderful. And I think we want to give people the experience of just being with their peers, not necessarily just kids, quote unquote, like them, but just kids. And so I think it's been pretty amazing and awesome. We do summer camps. We do a really huge basketball tournament every year for middle school through transition age kids. And that's a 2-day event that we normally would hold at Cleveland High School in the non-COVID eras.
Yeah.
And we do respite programs. We do soccer. Um, so we're doing a lot of fun stuff, and it's it was awesome for me, and still is awesome for me to work with kids with different abilities because I think it's as a black man in Portland, it's you know I get treated poorly very often, and so I think I know exactly what it's like to have someone treat you like less than or other, and then you throw the dyslexia on top of that, and that's a whole nother level of you know, what could be major insecurities that, you know, I've managed to, like I said, use, you know, my other abilities to make up for that. And so I think it's important to have places where kids that aren't always being made to feel like everybody else and are being made to feel other have a place that they can go to.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I went to your website, and the first thing I noticed was just how inclusive the environment that you're putting on, just through the website, through the imaging, through the pictures. You can just see that you're seeing these students for who they are and accepting them, and whether they're disabilities or come from different backgrounds. It's just the inclusivity that you're creating, that culture is so needed now. As you know, you put a disability on it, and then you add layers of coming from different backgrounds and those challenges. I just think it's so needed and so great what you've created. How can people support what you're doing? What are things that people can do that are listening in on this call,
Yeah,
can do to support your work?
for sure. I think you know, of course, being a nonprofit, a small nonprofit, you know, the number one way to support is through donations. We're grant and donation based. So, you know, not huge donations, any donation really helps. That's pretty awesome. Um, we also are a volunteer based organization. So we start our volunteers in the sixth grade. And I really truly believe that like empathy is the most important thing in the world. Like, I think if you have empathy and can live your life with empathy, kind of leading with that, um, it'll get you through a lot of situations in life that, you know, you'll avoid a lot of gnarly situations, I feel like. And so I think sixth grade is kind of that make or break time where kids are kind of like starting to form their little minds and, you know, what direction they're going with their friends and how they talk to people and, you know, act in public and different things. And I just think it's a really great time to catch them and get them to these camps and these events and really see that kids with different abilities, they're just the same as typical ed kids. And um, I think the best part about our camps and our programs is actually seeing the volunteers leave at the end of the time more bummed out than our campers are. Like, our campers are like, all right, on to the next one. We'll see you next week, or we'll see you, you know, whatever. And the volunteers are like, they're bummed out. And they're high school kids and middle school kids, and it's just it's a beautiful thing to see. It just really is really cool. It's amazing, and we like to try and get volunteers from the areas of where kids are coming from, so that when they're going back into their schools, they have allies in the schools. And I think um, we also try to target a lot of kids to volunteer that are, you know, maybe not going to be kids who generally would volunteer with kids with disabilities, that maybe are kids who are really uncomfortable with kids with disabilities. Because I think, like, the minute you volunteer with us, like, you fall in love with our kids and you fall in love with the experience, and you just want to keep coming back for more. And it's not me, I'll tell you that much. It's they want to come back for the kids and the experience and just the it's very humbling, you know. Like, I think we spend so much time to like grinding and moving and moving and moving and not, and we're thinking about it's me. And when you get to come and volunteer, it's like it's not about you. And you get to witness something that's just super awesome and fun, and just fun. Like, we just kick it and play games and have fun.
Well, it looks really special, the environment that you're putting together, from the website alone, and then hearing you talk about it. And I just think it's such a great cause. So we'll share out that link and ways that
Thank
people
you.
can donate or volunteer, because it sounds like that could be really rewarding for the people that have the time to actually partake in the camps once they get going and we're back live. I
Yeah,
was
we
gonna,
love it.
yeah, I definitely want to jump out there. I was gonna ask, outlets. You know, we talk about outlets away from the school. It sounds like for you was music an outlet
Mhm.
for you, or and is it still an outlet? And then are you seeing through these camps, are you seeing students kind of find ways to really show what they're able to do, maybe outside of the environment where you and I were frustrated with school or reading and that sort of thing?
Yeah, for sure. You might have to get me back on track because I got a little ADD here, but I think definitely for me, my music was my outlet in school. I stopped playing music after high school, unfortunately. Like I'll play for my wife and daughter, my kids every once in a while, but um, I started coaching basketball when my little brother was in middle school, and
Okay.
so I was like 15, I think, and I coached pretty consistently up until just this last year. So it's been 25 whatever years of coaching hoops at all different levels, men's, women's, and I've I think that's my outlet. It's I connect with kids. I win. I'm a winner. I like to win. I'm competitive, and so I think that was kind of my outlet was hoops and coaching, and yeah, and just the music too. Listening to music is a huge outlet for me. Like just listening to putting on headphones or driving in my car and having music on is a huge way for me to just kind of kick back and not be just stuck.
Yeah, get away from
Yeah,
the day-to-day stuff. No, for sure.
definitely.
Uh,
And then
no,
you
and
asked me about the camps.
yeah, does the camps, are you finding that students are kind of being able to find their outlets through your camps?
Yeah, I think, one of my favorite things about camp, being a basketball guy, we do a lot of, basketball stuff and sports and different activities and art and dance and talent shows and different stuff. And I think I love when parents come to talent shows and watch their kids do a talent that maybe their child does, at home. But when our kids, if my 5-year-old sings Into the Unknown or some Frozen song a million times, I'm like, whatever. Like, oh my God, this doesn't stop. But when parents come and actually see their, kid perform in front of an auditorium full of their peers cheering them on, and it's just it's freaking amazing, man. I mean, it's awesome. And even simple things at other camps where it's like, we teach a kid to dribble the ball behind their back. And the parents like, oh my, I didn't even know my kid could dribble. And it's like, well, did you ever ask your kid if they could dribble, or like try or show your kid how they,
You're right.
these different things. And I think it's a different setting too. So like, I know my kids, one of our friends comes over and tells them the same thing I tell them a million times. And they're like, oh my God, Dad, did you see this? I'm like, yeah, I told you that like years ago. uh, but yeah, I think it's amazing, and it's cool to see that we're helping kids create new things about themselves and also helping parents, creating new memories for families is pretty awesome.
Yeah, the platform that you're creating for that to be showcased is very inspirational and so powerful for this community, for the community in general, and just I think it's so needed, and especially now as we just went through this pandemic. So to get back live will be really great for your camps. And again, we'll share out your info so people can connect to you, volunteer, donate.
Yeah,
I want to I want to ask you before I let you go.
yeah.
I want to give you the last word, but what would your message be to either the parents or students or educators out there with, it can be regarded to dyslexia or the challenges that you faced, or what you would like them to know, or where your vision is for the the world really going forward.
Yeah. Um, Man, that's a tough one. I think, I think I'm gonna be 43 this summer, so I don't think, I think it's a little hopeless for me at this point. But I think for my children, for children who, were going through experiences like I went through, I think it would just be to just be patient, give people the chance to shine and not have to not force kids to shine at a, nobody's the same, I guess. I mean, I think it's hard when you're different and you're different and you're expected to be the same as everybody else. And I think that's a challenge that I feel like schools need to figure out. And they need to, it's an equity piece. It's a it's a huge DEI issue that schools need to really tackle into and talk about. Um, but I think patience is just kind of the virtue, man. Like you gotta let kids mess up, and you gotta let kids learn at their own pace, and it and I think it should be recognized and not have to be like begged for by parents, or kids humiliated by taking them out of classes or putting them in resource rooms or different things. Like, that's fine. I worked in resource rooms, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them, but I think there needs to be discussions with kids so that we are, kids aren't stupid. My 5-year-old is smart. So, it's not acceptable for her to be going to different places and getting assistance for things and her not knowing why. But then the rest of the class is staying together. That kind of stuff needs to stop happening. And so it just, along with parents that like bilingual, you know what I mean? Like, there's sticking kids in ESL classes with disabilities and different, like, I mean, I could go on forever, but I think it's just, there needs to be more awareness, there needs to be more patience, there needs to be more empathy. And I think if we did that, just those three things right there, awareness, patience, and empathy, I feel like we'd have a lower suspension expulsion rate. We'd have all these different things. So that's my dream, man. That's my dream.
I couldn't agree more. And our current president of the International Dyslexia Association Oregon branch, as well as our past president, are both on this call, Daniel Thompson and Jane Cooper, and giving you lots of praise and wise
Oh, right on.
words. And so, real powerful, and couldn't have said it better myself. And I totally agree with your vision. So anything we can do to support that going forward, definitely game.
Right on. Well, man, like I said, I appreciate what you're doing and just being able to speak on this and, be able to help out in any way that I can, because I think, this is important stuff. And dyslexia it's rough, man. It sucks. And so I think it's more people need to speak out about it so that more people know that a lot of people have it. And um, yeah, so I think it's just we got to start talking about it more and accepting people that have it and not making us read out loud all the time. Dang it.
Totally. No, I'm with you. Before you go, it sounds like somebody went to high school with you and is
Oh,
also dyslexic. Is also dyslexic.
see, and we didn't even know,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
mean, that's the crazy thing is, I mean, I think so many people have it and never even talked about it. And that's one more thing that we probably could have been supporting each other with in school. Not that I had that wherewithal, but who knows? If I would have known, you know.
Well, we're on it now, and we'll definitely continue to talk and collaborate as much as possible. So it's definitely
Yes,
a
sir.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us tonight and share your story.
Yeah,
And looking forward to sharing again. We'll share out the website so that people can donate and volunteer.
right on, man. Well, I appreciate you having me, bro, and appreciate being able to speak on it, man.
Thank you so much. You have a great
Yeah,
night.
you too, bro. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye.